Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by for China Online Education Group's fourth quarter 2021 earnings conference call. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's conference is being recorded. I will now turn the call over to your host, Mrs. Ni Yan, Investor Relations for the company. Please go ahead, Ni.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first quarter 2021 earnings conference call of China Online Education Group, also known as 51 Talk. The company's results were issued via Newswire services earlier today and are posted online. You can download the earnings press release and sign up for the company's distribution list by visiting the IR section of our website at ir.51talk.com. Mr. Jack Huang, our Chief Executive Officer, and Mr. Ming Xu, our Chief Financial Officer, will begin with some prepared remarks. Following the prepared remarks, Mr. Li Mingzhang, our Chief Operating Officer, will also join the call for our Q&A session. Before we continue, please note that today's discussion will contain forward-looking statements made under the Safe Harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. As such, the company's results may be materially different from the views expressed today. Further information regarding this and other risks and uncertainties is included in the company's Form 20-F and other public filings as filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not assume any obligation to update any forward-looking statements, except as required under the applicable law. Please also note that 51 Talk's earnings press release and its conference call include discussion of unaudited GAAP financial information, as well as unaudited non-GAAP financial measures. 51 Talk's press release contains a reconciliation of the unaudited non-GAAP measures to the unaudited most directly comparable GAAP measures. I will now turn the call over to our CEO, Jack Huang. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our conference call. In response to the changes in the government regulations related to after-school tutoring, we have taken measures to restructure our business so that the company's 2022 strategy will keenly focus on overseas business. In the fourth quarter, overseas business net gross billings have reached $2.9 million, more than triple Q3 net gross billings. As the overseas business momentum continues to build, we have extended our product offerings to students in more than 50 countries and regions outside mainland China. We have been able to leverage our strengths in high-quality teacher resources, interactive curriculum, and advanced technology platform to quickly establish our presence in the new markets. We will stick with our proven business model, which balances growth with profitability and was proven in mainland China market. We are excited in exploring opportunities in overseas markets, which allow our Filipino teachers to help more students in the world to be able to talk to the world. In order to comply with applicable laws and regulations and allow our listing company to focus on the overseas business, I have sent a proposal to our board to acquire the company's mainland China business. Meanwhile, I will continue to lead our listing company as the chairman of the board and the CEO to drive the growth in the overseas markets. And the board has formed a special committee to evaluate my proposal. With that, I will now turn the call to our CFO, Ximing.
Thank you, Jack. Hello, everyone. We concluded 2021 with 2.2 billion RMB revenue, a 5.5% increase from last year. Non-GAAP net income for 2021 was 133 million RMB, representing a non-GAAP net margin of 6.1%. We have streamlined our operation to meet our smaller scale. As a result, the fourth quarter operating expenses were 321 million RMB, representing 30% decrease from the second quarter. Net revenues for Q3 and Q4 of 2021 were 574 million RMB and 413 million RMB respectively, representing a sequential decline of 1% and 28%. The number of active students with attended lesson consumption in Q4 was 299,000, a 20% sequential decline from 376,000 for Q3. Gross margin for Q3 and Q4 was 73.5% and 78.6% respectively. Total non-GAAP operating expenses as a percentage of net revenue was 63% in Q3 and 77% in Q4. Non-GAAP sales marketing expenses for Q3 were 191 million RMB, down 39% sequentially. Non-GAAP sales and marketing expenses for Q4 were 235 million RMB, among which 124 million RMB were due to deferred sales and marketing expenses write-off. Excluding the write-off, Q4 non-GAAP sales and marketing expenses would have been 111 million RMB, down 42% sequentially. Non-GAAP product development expenses for Q3 were 39 million RMB, down 38% sequentially. Non-GAAP product development expenses for Q4 were 16 million RMB, down 60% sequentially. Non-GAAP G&A expenses for Q3 were 101 million RMB, among which 51 million RMB was restructuring cost. Excluding the restructuring cost, Q3 G&A expenses would have been 50 million RMB, down 34% sequentially. Non-GAAP G&A expenses for Q4 were 67 million RMB, among which 22 million RMB was restructuring cost. Excluding the restructuring cost, Q4 G&A expenses would have been 45 million RMB, down 10% sequentially. Q3 impairment loss of 31.8 million RMB was due to goodwill and intangible asset write-off related to acquisitions. Other income for Q3 was due to 6.0 million RMB super deduction credit. Q4 impairment loss of 0.4 million RMB was due to intangible asset write-off related to employee performance evaluation system. Other income for Q4 was due to 0.6 million RMB super deduction credit. Non-GAAP operating income was 64 million RMB in Q3 and 7 million RMB in Q4, representing 11% and 2% operating margin respectively. Interest income for the third quarter of 2021 was negative 7 million RMB due to 15 million RMB reversal of interest income accrual from the time deposit early withdrawal, partially offset by interest income of 8 million RMB. Other income for Q4 was 8 million RMB, mainly due to government subsidy. Non-GAAP net income was 79 million RMB in Q3 and 55 million RMB in Q4, representing 14% and 13% net margin respectively. Non-GAAP diluted EPS was 23 RMB cents in Q3 and 16 RMB cents in Q4. The company's total cash equivalents, time deposits and short-term investments were 1.3 billion RMB at the end of Q3, and there was no restricted cash. The company's total cash equivalent, time deposits, short-term investments, and restricted cash were 0.99 billion RMB at the end of Q4, and among which 50.6 million RMB were restricted cash, which was advances from students under the government supervision. Advances from students were 2.3 billion RMB at the end of Q3 and 1.8 billion RMB at the end of Q4. The gap between advances from students and the cash balance has decreased from 1,052 million RMB in Q2 to 997 million RMB in Q3, and then to 775 million RMB in Q4. For more of our 2021 full year and Q3, Q4 results, please refer to our earnings press release. Looking forward to the first quarter of 2022, we currently expect the net gross billing of overseas business to be between $4.4 million and $4.6 million, representing sequential growth between 52% to 59%. The above outlook is based on our current market condition and reflects the company's current and preliminary estimate of market and operating conditions and customer demand, which are all subject to change. This concludes our prepared remarks. We will now open the call to questions. Operator, please go ahead.
For the benefit of all participants on today's call, please limit yourself to 2 questions. If you have additional questions, you may re-enter the queue. Please ask your question in Chinese first, then follow up with an English translation. To ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. And we will take the first question from Long Lin from the Benchmark Company.
Hello, Long. We cannot hear you. You might be muted.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you for taking my questions. So my question is about your overseas business. Just want to get a sense of the growth potential for the overseas expansion, and where do you see your key markets, and how conducive these markets for your services?
So I'll take this question. Hey Jack, you want to take this question?
那我先来回答吧，好不好啊
？OK，
感谢您的问题啊，就是我先讲一下我们现在的这个对于整个的境外市场，我们整体来讲，我们还是非常的看好现在整个的境外的互联网教育的市场。我们在过去的2个季度当中，我们在境外的互联网教育市场，我们做了非常多的尝试。我们发现呢，就是整个境外的在线教育市场呢，这个规模其实还是非常的巨大的。那么尤其是在线英语教育方面呢，其实在很多的地区和中国大陆呢是非常的类似的。那么您刚刚也问到在哪些地区嘛，那么我们现在呢最先进入的，我们今年的重点，2022年的重点呢，我们会放在东南亚的国家和地区。因为我们的这个标准呢是这些东南亚的国家和地区，它跟中国大陆呢在英语学习，尤其是孩子的 kids 的这个英文学习方面呢，它的这个需求和大陆呢非常的相似好，徐宁，要不你翻译一下啊。
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the question. So we are very positive on the potential of our overseas market. We've done a lot of work, and we we see this market size is huge, and in addition, the overseas market is actually very similar to Chinese market, and we look at the global market. In 2022, our focus will be in Southeast Asia, and in these countries are actually very, very similar to China in terms of English education demand, especially K-12 English education demand.
另外一个非常重要的因素呢，就是我们也可以看到，在这个整个的境外这个 COVID-19 这个目前造成的影响，其实还是非常大而这种疫情呢，其实正如在2020年对中国大陆的互联网教育的这个渗透率的这个加速是一样的，它现在在整个的境外市场在线教育的整个的市场规模正在快速的扩大，渗透率正在快速的提高也正是因为这样，也可以看到我们现在其实你可以看到我们在整个的我们的境外市场其实是从2021年的第3季度才开始做这个第4季度我们就已经能够做到这个290万美元的现金收入。那么今年的第1季度呢，我们今天给的指引当中呢，我们也是预计到至少是一个50%以上的季度对季度的增长那么从目前来看，这个市场我们还是非常有信心的。
So there's another very crucial fact is that the COVID-19 continue to drive the demand for online education in Southeast Asia, very similar to what was happening in China in 2020. And we see the penetration of online education increase dramatically. We started our overseas business in Q3 2021, and already we are able to achieve $2.9 million gross billing in Q4, which more than tripled the gross billing in Q3, and we also gave the guidance for Q1, which represent a more than 50% sequential increase.
那么另外呢，我们的一个比较重要的发现就是说，在这个境外的整个的教育领域呢，其实在线的英语学习在语言学习这个赛道当中呢，在线英语学习呢还是一个非常重要的品类一定是应该可以讲在线的语言培训当中呢，英语的学习呢还是最大的这个赛道。那么而且在很多的在我们今年主打的这个东南亚地区的国家地区的市场，其实很多的市场这个竞争呢，我们认为目前呢还不够充分所以这个都是让我们现在对于这个境外市场我们有这个信心的原因
And we see online English education to be probably the largest segment in terms of online language learning. And we see very limited competition in these target market in Southeast Asia. This also gives us a lot of confidence that we can quickly drive our overseas market.
当然最重要的呢，还是我们这个公司我们WeTalk在中国大陆我们其实在过去的几年当中呢，其实还是我们的整个的商业模式，其实在中国大陆还是取得了非常大的成功我们验证了我们的快速的成长和这个规模化的利润。那么我们相信以我们这个成熟的团队我们把我们的 know how 那么移植到境外市场其实我们相信呢，我们一定可以把我们公司呢做成这个在境外市场在全球范围内的在线英语培训的头部的品牌。
And also, our business model has been well proven in the Chinese market in the past few years. We were able to achieve, very balanced, sustainable growth in the past few years. And with that expertise and know-how, we believe we can transfer that knowledge to overseas market and to be one of the leading brand in terms of online English education.
OK， 好，我希望我的回答能够回答到了您刚刚的问题啊。好，谢谢。
Hope this answers your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just a follow up. So for your key markets, what are the competition regulation risks like in those markets, and how do you for your business, how do you build your brand in those markets?
So I'll take the first question. I'll let Jack take the second part. So far we have not yet identified any regulatory risk in the markets where we're active. Right now we have paying students actually from more than 50 countries and regions outside mainland China. So this kind of a geographic diversification also helps to mitigate the impact from any potential regulatory risk in any specific region. So Jack, can you talk about brand building?
好，那么首先呢，其实在品牌的建设上面呢，我们觉得啊，其实我们对于这个整个的在线教育的市场的一个基本的认知呢，还是那么好的产品和服务是去建立品牌的这个基础。那么我们一个非常大的优势呢，就是我们在过去的在这个中国大陆的业务，在过去的这个5到10年当中呢，其实我们已经积累了大量的我们的这个非常优秀的我们的课程产品啊，满足用户需求的课程产品。而且因为语言培训嘛，它其实它是这个跨国界的啊。我们本身我们的课程呢当中它就是按照这个欧洲的共同语言标准来研发的啊。这个举一个例子，那么除了课程体系以外，像我们的整个的技术平台包括我们的这个产品体系，以及我们的整个的服务的标准，其实这些呢都是我们在过去的2个季度当中，我们发现这些在中国大陆我们已经做了5到10年的验证过的这些产品和服务呢，就是在这些新兴的市场那我们发现呢，其实在这个竞争上还是有非常大的优势的，对于我们去建立品牌有很大的优势。当然这个另外一个非常重要的部分呢是本地化这个呢会是我们在未来的一个挑战我们需要在一些关键性的市场呢去实现本地化的突破。好
，Yeah, in terms of branding, we always believe that good product and good service is actually the key driver for a good reputation. Luckily, we have already tested our product and service in Chinese market for the past decade, and we have the most interactive curriculum that meets our customers' demand, and our curriculum is also designed according to the European standard, the CFR, and with this kind of a very advanced technology platform, interactive curriculum, as well as high quality service, we have been very successful in China in the past decade, and we believe in terms of customer demand in English learning as a second language, the demand is very similar in Southeast Asia markets versus in China, and so we're very confident that as we continue to improve our product service, and we will have an advantage in those markets. And the second part of the brand building is actually localization. And we understand it is very important, to do a good localization job in our key market. And we are putting resources on this, try to drive our branding in our initial key markets.
Okay. 好的，谢谢啊。
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So my second question is about the cost structure for the difference for the international business compared with China business. So can management also provide an outlook for the company's profitability this year? Also, you just mentioned about localization, which is a key part of your overseas business. How will that impact your cost going forward?
Sure. I'll take the question. So actually, if you look at in terms of a business model, the steady state cost structure of overseas business is very similar to our current business in mainland China. So we believe the gross margins are both above 70%, and also the target ratio as a percentage of gross billing is also 50% for sales marketing and below 10% for G&A and R&D. Obviously, we need to reach a certain scale to reach that kind of a cost structure target. So if we can grow at a moderate pace, we're likely that we can achieve positive cash flow in 2023 and positive gross billing contribution in 2024. So localization actually, there are many Chinese companies are going overseas, and one lucky thing for us is that we do not make major localization work on our core product, which is part of teaching English, and we do not need to make major work on curriculum nor technology platform. The only localization work we need to do is the sales and marketing part. So any customer interfaces that related to sales marketing, we need to do that. And in terms of core product, curriculum and technology platform, there are some localization work, but it is very light. So we do not expect this to change our target for the research and development expense ratio.
我就补充一点啊，徐总，我来补充一点。其实您问到的这个 cost structure， 其实当中呢，因为我们的核心产品还是教英文的，而且呢，我们还是用我们的最擅长的菲律宾老师，因为我们公司呢，直到现在我们有3万名的这个菲律宾的外教。那么大家众所周知，其实我们的这个菲律宾外教的业务呢，一直以来都有非常不错的毛利率。那么这一点在海外呢，将会一样的存在另外呢，还有就是因为我们本身其实我们过去这个5到10年建立起来的这个菲律宾外教的这个供应链的优势其实也让我们在从我们公司在过去的5到10年，其实就有这个在整个的供应端本身就是一家这个非常具有境外基因的公司。其实这也是让我们在这一轮在我们遇到这个国内的困难在中国这个大陆的困难之后呢，我们转向境外，就是能够在非常短的时间之内能够取得非常不错的这个成绩的一个很大的原因。
Yeah, so just want to add one more point is that English learning is our core product, we're actually have a good advantage. Is that we have more than 30,000 Filipino teachers, and the Filipino teachers is the reason that we have very good students have very good learning experience, and also we can achieve very good margin. So in terms of because of our advantages in the teacher resources, and also because it's Filipino teachers, we are actually more international than many other Chinese companies, and that's the reason why we are able to make good progress in terms of the transition and to quickly move our strategy and the focus from domestic business to overseas market.
Got it. Thank you. That's all my questions for now. I will get back to the queue.
Thank you, Long.
And as a reminder, to ask a question, press *1. We will now take the next question from Boris Suvorov from BofA. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hello, and thanks for taking my question. My question is about distribution of assets and liabilities between mainland China and non-mainland China students. I see that as of last report, there is about 151 million in current assets in US dollars. What percentage of those current assets are for mainland China?
I'll take this question. Yes, so I'll take this question. So right now, there's no clear cut of liability and assets between the mainland China part and the overseas market part. So this is once the board has made evaluation and in terms of the value of both business, and we still need to split the overhead. However, there's one principle we will look at in terms of splitting these two part of businesses, that we will always make sure the overseas business we have positive net equities, which means in principle we will keep more cash than the gross billings or different revenues from the overseas students. And in terms of domestic business, as I mentioned earlier, that there always has been a huge gap between the advances from students versus the cash, and so after that, we believe once we split these two businesses, our domestic business will keep that way. However, going forward, all these advances from students who will be consumed and turned into profit. So this is why we are confident that by splitting domestic business and overseas business, we allow a very clean balance sheet for overseas business, allow it to grow on its own trajectory, and at the same time, we can, for domestic business, we can focus on our students to make sure all these lesson credits will be consumed and our students will learn and improve.
Thank you very much. And as a follow-up, similar question: if the company will be split in non-mainland China and mainland China. What about product development expense and general and admin? In terms of staffing, do you see any reduction of costs, split of costs between two companies, or most of engineers and general and admin staff staying with non-mainland China company?
Yes. So we will split our staff in terms of G&A and R&D. So obviously anything related to a public company will stay with the public company, and most of the patent and IP will go to the public company, and we believe right now we have a very, very small G&A and R&D team. So roughly, it will be probably 50-50. Half of the staff will stay with the domestic business, and half of the staff will stay with the public company, focusing on overseas market.
Thank you.
All right.
There are no further questions at the moment. As a reminder, to ask a question, press star 1. Once again, press star 1 if you wish to ask a question. And we have a follow-up question from Long Lin from the Benchmark Company. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hi. Yes. Yeah, I have a follow-up on your overseas business. So just want to see, does the company need any additional capital to fund the overseas expansion?
I'll take this question. Currently, we do not need additional capital to fund overseas business growth. So the cash balance on our overseas bank accounts are sufficient to drive our growth by the time we turn cash flow positive, which I said earlier. We believe this could happen in 2023.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we have no further questions, so I would like to turn the call back to the company for closing remarks. Mrs. Ni Ying, please go ahead.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact 51Talk's Investor Relations through the contact information provided on our website.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
This concludes this conference call. You may now disconnect your line. Thank you.